All right, civil discourse in 2019 is not off to a great start with the new divided government in Washington, despite top former Democratic leaders calling for an end to all this divisiveness.
If we are fortunate enough to win back the House and/or the Senate, that's when civility can start again.
This country has to come together. This division that exists, this hatred, this ugliness, it really has to come to an end.
Time now for tonight's Power Panel. Fox News contributor, former Clinton pollster Doug Schoen, president of Real Clear Politics Tom Bevan, and the editorial director of the Daily Caller Vince Coglianese. Thank you all for joining us tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be with you.
Okay, so Doug, you heard the former First Lady, former Secretary of State, the former Democratic nominee for the presidency herself. She said if they won back the House, it's time to become civil again. And for some folks on the Hill, they don't think that's exactly how it sounds on day 2 into this new House control.
Well, first of all, it isn't civil. We've heard that today. We've heard some vile rhetoric and threatening to impeach the president. Introducing articles of impeachment isn't, in my judgment, good politics or civil. I also would tell you that I don't think the Democratic Party itself is united. There are fissures, to be sure, in the Republican Party. But as the report suggested, there are divisions in the Democratic Party, all of which leads me to believe we're going to have more contention, more bitterness, more polarization.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, how does the new speaker, newly re-speakered, how does she deal with this new batch of Democrats? Because, you know, she talked today about this generational gap, the language that was used going after the president. So it shouldn't be making such a big deal about it. But there are a lot of these new freshmen and other members who are newer at this who say, we want impeachment. We expect you to do this. We want climate change to be the #1 thing we're talking about. They're really kind of trying to overshadow what she may have planned as speaker. How does she manage that? Can she?
Well, it's going to be hard, and it's going to take all of her political skill. We know she's very good at this. She's good at legislating. She's good at fundraising. She's good at corralling votes. But this is a different situation, as you mentioned. I mean, just the roar that Rashida Tlaib got for those comments sort of is the tell that this is where the hunger for the Democratic base is not for civility. It's for engaging against Trump. Across the board. And so in addition to that, Democrats are going to need to, that's not good enough for them. They're going to have to put forward some piece of legislation, some agenda that shows the country that they actually can govern. And to the point that was made earlier, I mean, there are fissures within the Democratic Party on issues like PAYGO, on climate change. It's going to be very difficult for Nancy Pelosi to corral those votes. It's going to take all of her skill, and we'll see where she ends up.
Well, Vince, this is how Kimberly Strassel, the Wall Street Journal, sums up the plan. She says, America, meet the Pelosi House, articles of impeachment, a move to abolish the Electoral College, comparisons of the president to Hitler, a non-starter vote on the shutdown, profanity, a proposal for a 70% tax hike on the wealthy, all in under 36 hours. Wait till they get rolling.
Yeah, I think it's a strategy that Republican campaign strategists are quietly welcoming, because what it does is it demonstrates that Democrats do not have control of their own party. Think about this. If you've run the entire midterm saying that the president of the United States is mercurial and divisive and we need an alternative in the United States, then where is that? We don't see anyone acting like an adult in the Democratic Party. Instead, immediately what we're getting is hysterical temper tantrums and not providing a contrast in any way. And I think that's the kind of thing that the president's going to be able to easily run against going into 2020. Nancy Pelosi, her daughter said this week, she can cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding. I think she starts this Congress wounded, and she needs to figure out a way to corral these Democrats.
Okay, so one of those that she may need to corral, because they don't exactly see eye to eye on all the issues, is new Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's where this idea of a 70% tax comes in. Here is what she's saying about that.
Once you get to like the tippy tops on your $10 millionth dollar, sometimes you see tax rates as high as 60 or 70%. As you climb up this ladder, you should be contributing more. It only has ever been radicals that have changed this country.
Do you call yourself a radical?
Yeah, you know, if that's what radical means, call me a radical.
And Tom, she likened herself to President Lincoln with the Emancipation Proclamation, FDR with the New Deal. Hey, give her points for being honest about it.
No, exactly. I mean, she's willing to go out there and sort of lean into this idea. But to the point that she was making, I mean, at some point you have to, and she's been asked this before, You know, how do you pay for this stuff? In addition to this new Green Deal that she wants, there's Medicare for all. It's going to cost trillions of dollars. And so she's willing to say, look, we're going to tax the rich. We're going to soak the rich and on to tax rates that we haven't seen in a long, long time in this country. I'm not sure that's a winning message for Democrats. I'm not sure that's something that even a majority of their party is going to buy into and something that they're going to run on in 2020. 70% taxes for the wealthiest people in this country. That's not going to be a good platform for them, I don't think, in 2020.
Okay, Doug and Vince, I want you both to quickly weigh in on this before we run out of time. So Doug first and then to Vince.
Look, I'm for climate change legislation. I think we have to offer more jobs to people, but we can't guarantee jobs. We can't engage in confiscatory taxes. We need a pro-growth agenda that's inclusive, not redistribution, if we're to succeed as a party.
I'd like to see any lawmaker who honestly answers questions about what they intend to do. She's telling us, but just the approach is not credible. She's talking out of both sides of her mouth here. She's saying she wants to collect tax revenue from the rich, punish them, but also she doesn't really care how we pay for anything. She doesn't even care if we have the revenue. In fact, this new Green New Deal rather, they don't care whether or not they have the revenue to pay for it. They just want to pass it.
Well, she was an economics minor at Boston
That's
University,
true. She's an
and
economist.
so she knows maybe more about the economy than some other people out there. We will see how this all plays out. Doug, Tom, and Vince, have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you all.
Yes, thanks,
Thanks,
Shannon.
Shannon.
Bye-bye.